galactic oasis where you plan, prepare, and then embark on dangerous expeditions topside. But where there's a will, there's a way. And after 100 plus hours over the course of multiple years testing this game, our team is here to help. My name is Kodiak, this is Legacy Gaming, and this is our ultimate beginner's guide to Embark Studios' new third-person extraction shooter, Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders is far and away one of the most exciting extraction shooters to hit the masses in some time. The game has already garnered an impressive following throughout its public testing, but now that it's launched, we expect there are thousands of players just like you looking to experience the game for the first time. After over 100 plus hours of hands-on experience through various testing phases, our goal is to help you make sense of an otherwise chaotic game and help you get started as you head topside, scavenge for loot, and survive against dozens of Arcs and fellow Raiders looking to hunt you down. It all starts by understanding Arc Raiders' gameplay loop. You'll prepare your loadout, head topside, and spend 30 to 40 minutes scavenging a map, and then attempt to extract with the valuable materials and gear that you've collected. Between rounds, you'll want to take those resources to both build and upgrade new workbenches, craft gear, purchase items, and advance your skill tree, all before re-queuing and doing it again. Before an expedition, you'll spend your time preparing in Speranza, the game's hub. It's here you'll purchase or craft new equipment, prepare your raiders' loadout, make any necessary progression decisions, and accept quests that you'll aim to complete topside. Before each expedition, you'll want to carefully consider what decisions you need to make, keeping in mind that long-term progression is the key to ultimately putting yourself in the best position to extract successfully. We'll dive into some more specifics, but for now, let's venture topside. At launch, Arc Raiders will feature 5 maps plus the practice range where you can test out your weapons. These maps all have default variations, but they also have a number of modifiers that transform them in a variety of ways. Night Raid is a great example of how these maps change based on the modifier. When Night Raid is active, the map is shrouded in darkness. Fewer extraction points exist, raider hatches are disabled, and the Arc presence is intensified. But with that added challenge also comes higher quality loot across the map. That's just one example of a map modifier you'll want to keep an eye out for when choosing your expedition, because they all offer different challenges and rewards. Once you load in, you're exposed, and it's critical you understand how maps are laid out so you can survive, because make no mistake about it, everything is trying to kill you from this point on. Opening up your map will reveal all of the major points of interest. Yellow outlined areas have medium value loot, while red outlined areas have high value loot. You can still find high tier loot randomly around the map, but it's more rare. Map locations, outlined or otherwise, also have a tag, such as mechanical, technological, electrical, and so on. These tags give you an idea of the type of loot you'll find in each location, and while that loot does vary, you're more likely to find the materials that you need if you're scavenging the right location. The maps themselves are incredibly varied, but what you'll find across all maps are a few consistencies. Every map has areas that are wide open. These are often the shortest distance between major points of interest, but are most commonly found on the outside edges of the map. That being said, they are considered incredibly dangerous to traverse because you're exposed almost the entire time, making you the perfect target for an ambush. Occasionally, you will find smaller buildings or structures, and while these provide a little cover and maybe some loot, they're far from lucrative. Where you'll find the most loot is at the various named points of interest, which are often larger and more sprawling locations, often with multiple levels. These are almost always going to be contested by other players, and are usually at the epicenter of the action throughout a round. At various points of interest across the map, you'll also find locked doors that require special keys to access. Keys from one map will often drop for another map, so you'll have to successfully extract with those items and then take the key into the correct map if you want to snag the often valuable loot located inside the locked room. Dotted across every map are a number of raider hatches. These are special extraction points that you can only access with a raider hatch key, which can be purchased once per day at Shawnee and Speranza, crafted, or on the rare occasion, scavenged. These hatches provide your team with a way to instantly extract without the attention-drawing sounds of the other extraction methods. The extraction elevator, metro station, and air shaft on their respective maps are the most common ways to safely get back to Speranza, but it's a much more exposed process. Activating the transportation starts an alarm that alerts other players nearby. You'll have to survive long enough for your ride to reach you and then successfully complete the extraction sequence. Even if you're knocked down but not fully dead, you can still use these extractions to get out alive. It might all sound relatively easy. Pick a map, scavenge some loot, and occasionally kill an enemy player. But we're forgetting one key element: the arcs. Carefully patrolling each map are deadly machines that are actively hunting raiders, and they come in many different flavors. In fact, so many that we had to make a dedicated video breaking down strategies to defeat each one currently in the game. The general rule of thumb is this: unless there's an actual reason to kill an arc, either because it's detected you or you're farming for their parts, they should be avoided, because engaging them has a very real potential of alerting other players to your position or outright overwhelming you.
Ich bin's, dein Pickel. Glückwunsch zum zweiten Interview. Du wirst einen riesen Eindruck machen. Und ich meine
Multipatch-Pickel-Patches absorbieren Unreinheiten. Resultate in 6 bis 8 Stunden. Hero Nummer 1 Marke Akne-Patches.
With some of the basics out of the way, let's focus on some specific things you can do to better prepare yourself for an expedition topside, starting with your loadout. You have two options: to either create a custom loadout using any of the gear that you've scavenged or crafted, or a free loadout where you get a small assortment of random gear, including a weapon, but are much more limited in terms of how much loot you can hold and extract with. Free loadouts are great if you're low on materials and you want to head topside with little fear of losing your hard-earned equipment, and while you are limited in how much you can carry, anything you extract with, including the randomized gear you load in with, gets added to your stash. If you successfully extract, you can then take your free loadout augment and bring it to Lance at the clinic in exchange for a more effective baseline augment. A custom loadout is more tailored to your preferred playstyle, taking your own equipment into an expedition, which most likely makes you a more formidable foe, but also you run the risk of losing it all if you're killed. The custom loadout can consist of any combination of the following: an augment, which determines how many individual items and the total weight of those items you can carry, the type of shield you can equip, how many quick use slots you have, how many safe pockets you have, and if you're using a more advanced augment, how many additional equipment or medical slots you have, plus the potential for a unique perk. You can also slot a shield, which provides you additional protections on top of your health bar. One of the things to note is that higher quality shields, while they offer more protection, will slow down your movement speed, so there is a trade-off. Obviously, you can equip your weapons, and there are no limitations here. You have 2 slots, which means you can bring any combination of 2 weapons into a raid. You can also slot a variety of quick use items or specific types of consumable items depending on your equipped augment. These range from grenades and throwables to healing items and consumable buffs. There's also your backpack, which you'll load in with primarily ammunition, but can theoretically populate with anything from your stash. Finally, there's your safe pocket, which might be the most important slot in your loadout. Whatever you put in here will always make it safely back to Speranza, even if you die. Consider placing high-value blueprints, treasures, or materials in these slots because they are invaluable. The only restriction is that you can't put weapons into your safe pockets. Before every run, you should be asking yourself the question, what are my goals for this next expedition? If the answer is simply killing other raiders and stealing their loot, great, bring a loadout that will help you do that successfully. If you're more interested in scavenging and looting, then that might change the equipment you bring into the run. Understanding what you hope to accomplish and what map you're loading into should always inform the equipment that you bring topside. One of the biggest changes since our time testing the game was that Celeste, one of the vendors in Speranza, now trades in assorted seeds. These are common items you'll find topside and can be traded for basic crafting materials, as well as a limited supply of uncommon to rare materials that replenish on a timer. This is a great supplement to your scavenging, and as you look to further your progression, she becomes a valuable resource that doesn't require you to tap into your precious supply of coins. Everything you do topside helps you back in Speranza, and regardless if it's materials you collect or the bodies you stack up, your goal long-term is progression. One of the most important systems to aid in your overall performance is your skill tree. 3 branching paths stretch across conditioning, mobility, and survival, and as you gain experience and level up, you'll need to make the choice of where to invest your points. Nodes don't increase your damage output, but they do drastically change how effective you are at getting around and interacting with the world, and since there's no way to respec your points at will, at least until you undergo an optional character reset at the start of each season, we wanted to give you some guidance on where to spend your points. The conditioning skill tree taps into 3 distinct ideas: noise suppression, melee efficiency, and recovery. There's some good skills to be had here, especially the first one, use to the weight, which allows you to wear heavier shields with less of a speed reduction. Something like Survivor Stamina is another sound choice, allowing you to regenerate your stamina faster when critically hurt. The mobility tree is all about how quickly you can get around the world, with nodes that increase speed, reduce stamina consumption, and augment your movement skills. This is actually the tree we recommend you spend the bulk of your early points in, because that gives you a more distinct advantage. Marathon Runner, which reduces your stamina cost when moving around, Youthful Lungs, which increases your maximum stamina, and Calming Stroll, which allows you to regain stamina when walking, are all incredible early investments. Later on, things like Effortless Roll, which reduces the stamina cost to dodge roll, and Vault on Vaults on Vaults, which removes the stamina cost to vault, are far and away some of the better skills to invest in. Survival might be the most varied skill tree, and here again we see some really strong choices, none of which I'd say are outright essential, but you could absolutely make the case for investing in them. Right out of the gate, Agile Croucher is superb, increasing your movement speed when crouched. In-round crafting allows you to field craft items while topside, which, while not essential, can come in handy when things go sideways during an expedition. Some of the end-of-tree skills are also pretty interesting if you want to focus on loot efficiency. Broad Shoulders allows you to carry more items, while Looter's Luck makes it so you possibly reveal twice as many items at once, cutting down on the time you spend exposed staring at a body or a container. How you build your skill tree is entirely up to you, but if you were curious how we planned on spending our skill points, this is what we expect our trees to look like at the max level, which at launch will be 50. Be deliberate in your skill choices. Don't spend them as soon as you get them, unless you've taken the time to properly plan out how you want to spec your character. Now, another huge part of the game's progression are the workstations. There are 7 dedicated to crafting, but at the start of the game, you'll have just 1. The basic bench allows you to craft the basic looting augment, a basic shield, some basic level weapons and ammunition, and basic consumables, like shield rechargers and bandages. The weapons bench allows you to craft weapons, but also attachments that can add to your weapons and make them more potent. The equipment bench is where you can craft different tiers of augments and shields, which help enhance and shape your gameplay based on your playstyle. The med station gives you access to vital consumables like bandages, shield rechargers, adrenaline shots, and more. You'll need a healthy supply of these, as the more experienced players get, the more consumables they'll bring into raids. The explosive bench gives you access to grenades and mines, and this might not seem initially important, but these items can be critical at flushing players out of cover or taking down the more menacing arc machines. The utility bench gives you access to items like door blockers, deployable barricades, photoelectric cloaks, as well as zip lines, which are essential for efficient traversal and escape during hectic.
Hol dir eine von 6 Sammelfiguren im Friends-Menü. Nur bei McDonald's.
Stell dir vor, du kannst alles erstellen, einfach indem du daran denkst. Das ist Base44, eine KI-Plattform zum Erstellen von Apps. Für alle die, die eine Idee haben und entschlossen sind, sie umzusetzen. Beschreibe deine Vision und erlebe, wie sie Wirklichkeit wird. Du kannst planen, anpassen und in alle Richtungen erweitern. Von individuellen Lösungen bis zu skalierbaren Plattformen für viele. Von Hobbyprojekten zu professionellen Enterprise-Lösungen. Alles ist integriert und bereit für den Launch. Es ist eine neue Welt des Erstellens, in der du so weit gehen kannst, wie deine Vorstellungskraft reicht. Kannst du es dir vorstellen? Lass uns deine Traum-App verwirklichen. Gleich jetzt.
Fights. Finally, there's the Refiner, something you'll need for later progression, as it allows you to craft rarer components out of the lower tier resources slowly over time. In an attempt to make sure players are never truly stuck without equipment, you'll also have Scrappy by your side, a rooster that will generate a collection of basic materials for you to claim after each run. This includes metal parts, fabric, plastic parts, chemicals, rubber parts, and seeds, all vital materials and the building blocks for the entire crafting system. It can be a bit daunting with so many workstations to build, and in some cases upgrade, so we wanted to take it a step further. The most important thing to upgrade is your rooster. The faster you can get those basic materials, the more often you can craft, and obviously, going into an expedition with an extra bandage or shield recharger does make a world of difference. After that, you'll want to establish your gunsmith. This allows you to craft attachments, but upgrading the station allows you to craft those higher tier weapon blueprints and upgrade your weapon stats, making even the most basic weapon a real threat. Next is the medical lab, which allows you to craft the upgraded healing and shield consumables, which will eventually replace your basic tier versions. More potent healing means more of a chance you survive a fight. Then there's the refiner, which allows you to craft higher tier components between runs. This station is the linchpin that allows you to get enough refined materials in order to craft that next big upgrade you've been chasing. Once you have the other priority workstations up and running, this is what you'll want to focus on upgrading next, as it unlocks additional crafting queue slots, which become essential for converting basic materials into refined materials more efficiently. After that, you really can build and upgrade any of the other workstations, and while there's certainly some value in what they bring to the table, they're not essential, which is why they're at the bottom of our priority list. Now, in order to upgrade Scrappy and the various high priority workstations we just mentioned, you'll want to keep an eye out for a few essential items when you're topside. Store these in a safe pocket or just make sure you extract whenever you find them, because some of the items are pretty rare. The dog collar allows you to upgrade Scrappy to level 2. Lemons and apricots are needed to get Scrappy to level 3, and the best way to get these is by doing a raid with the Lush Blooms modifier. You'll need toasters to upgrade your refiner to level 2. You'll also need fireball burners as part of that upgrade to expand the inventory of the refiner. Wasp drivers, rusted tools, and mechanical components are all needed to upgrade your gunsmith to level 2, while tick pods, durable cloth, and a cracked bioscanner are needed to get your medical lab to level 2 to get you into the better healing items. There's a lot of prep work that has to happen before an expedition, and that step is important because once you get topside, all you have is your gear, your skills, and maybe a reliable teammate or two. That's why all the prep in the world can't replace good, sound tactics, which is why I wanted to dive into some essential basic tips once you're topside. If you're new to the game, you're no doubt going to be excited about the arts and seeds, all vital materials and the building blocks for the entire crafting system. It can be a bit daunting with so many workstations to build, and in some cases upgrade, so we wanted to take it a step further. The most important thing to upgrade is your rooster. The faster you can get those basic materials, the more often you can craft, and obviously, going into an expedition with an extra bandage or shield recharger does make a world of difference. After that, you'll want to establish your gunsmith. This allows you to craft attachments, but upgrading the station allows you to craft those higher tier weapon blueprints and upgrade your weapon stats, making even the most basic weapon a real threat. Next is the medical lab, which allows you to craft the upgraded healing and shield consumables, which will eventually replace your basic tier versions. More potent healing means more of a chance you survive a fight. Then there's the refiner, which allows you to craft higher tier components between runs. This station is the linchpin that allows you to get enough refined materials in order to craft that next big upgrade you've been chasing. Once you have the other priority workstations up and running, this is what you'll want to focus on upgrading next, as it unlocks additional crafting queue slots, which become essential for converting basic materials into refined materials more efficiently. After that, you really can build and upgrade any of the other workstations, and while there's certainly some value in what they bring to the table, they're not essential, which is why they're at the bottom of our priority list. Now, in order to upgrade Scrappy and the various high priority workstations we just mentioned, you'll want to keep an eye out for a few essential items when you're topside. Store these in a safe pocket or just make sure you extract whenever you find them, because some of the items are pretty rare. The dog collar allows you to upgrade Scrappy to level 2. Lemons and apricots are needed to get Scrappy to level 3, and the best way to get these is by doing a raid with the Lush Blooms modifier. You'll need toasters to upgrade your refiner to level 2. You'll also need fireball burners as part of that upgrade to expand the inventory of the refiner. Wasp drivers, rusted tools, and mechanical components are all needed to upgrade your gunsmith to level 2, while tick pods, durable cloth, and a cracked bioscanner are needed to get your medical lab to level 2 to get you into the better healing items. There's a lot of prep work that has to happen before an expedition, and that step is important because once you get topside, all you have is your gear, your skills, and maybe a reliable teammate or two. That's why all the prep in the world can't replace good, sound tactics, which is why I wanted to dive into some essential basic tips once you're topside. If you're new to the game, you're no doubt going to be excited about the arc enemies that patrol each map. It can be very tempting to want to shoot them, but it's honestly to your detriment. Alerting arcs can cause a chain of events you might not like, including alerting enemy players to your presence. This is the worst possible outcome in most scenarios because while you're distracted with an arc enemy, an enemy squad can easily get the jump on you. Not only that, but arcs aren't your typical AI numbskulls. They are smart as heck. For most beginners, it's easy to get overwhelmed, especially once they call in reinforcements. If you do have to fight, target an arc's weak spots, because if you don't, you'll chew through your ammunition with little to show for it. Bottom line, if you don't need to shoot an arc, don't, because it's best to sneak by them and focus on the task at hand, looting, killing other raiders, and extracting. Avoiding arcs means staying quiet, and this has broader implications than you might think. Arc Raiders has some of the best directional audio we've experienced in a game. Every crate you open or door you breach can be heard from a considerable distance away, and every sound, big or small, is information that enemy raiders and to an extent, arcs can use against you. Sprinting should only be used when necessary, either to span large distances out in the open or whenever you need to quickly move or reposition. You should avoid sprinting inside buildings at all costs, as the excess reverberations can be heard much more clearly. If you suspect any enemies nearby, your first instinct should be to crouch. This masks any movement sound and allows you to get more information, either by physically scouting a location or listening to your surroundings. Would you believe it that even things like pinging locations, reloading your weapons, or using emotes of all things can be heard by other players? So be intentional with your movement and don't make any unnecessary sounds. At some point, you're inevitably going to get into a firefight. That's to be expected. And there's a few things that we can share which will hopefully help you survive those encounters. First is to understand the difference between cover and concealment.
Entfessle die Kraft von DK und erlebe ein schmetterndes Abenteuer. Donkey Kong Bonanza, nur für Nintendo Switch 2.
For example, a bush will hide you, but it won't protect you. That's concealment. On the other hand, standing behind a large metal wall or crate will provide you cover, protecting you from enemy fire, but make sure it covers your entire body, including your head. Knowing the difference and using those effectively is key to your success in a fight. On top of that, Arc Raiders is a game of angles. Holding corners and peeking is one of the most common ways to scout and ultimately engage enemies because of the third-person nature of the game. As needed, make sure you're swapping shoulders so that you're never exposing too much of your body. It can be a little jarring at first, but learning to shoot off your right or left shoulder is going to help you in the long run. Finally, and this really does go without saying, but more than most games, having health, shield, and stamina matter a whole lot more in Arc Raiders. If you get cracked, there's very little you can do in that moment to support your team. It's better you duck behind cover, recover what you can, and then re-engage in the fight. Even if you have a full shield, popping up with just a pip of health isn't helping anyone if you get knocked, since some damage passes through your shield to your health. So take care of yourself first before trying to take out an enemy. Last but not least, let's talk about looting. As we've discussed, you want to go into each expedition with a goal, specifically items you want to bring back to Speranza. Make sure you consider what areas of the map have these specific items you're looking for and target those specific locations for the best chance at your desired loot. On top of that, and critically important, be sure to loot as many containers as possible. You don't necessarily need to take the items, but every container or raider corpse you simply open, you get experience for. This is the quickest and best way to level up and acquire more skill points, so just remember, a full backpack doesn't mean you should stop opening containers. I should also mention that you can salvage items during an expedition, breaking them down into basic materials, but your yield is greater if you recycle those same materials back in Speranza. It's the same function, you just get more out of it. If you're looking for a more advanced guide, check out our Wish I Knew Sooner video, chock full of advanced tricks to take your knowledge to that next level. What you know is more valuable than what you loot, so give our complete playlist a look to gain that edge on your competition. We hope this guide helped you beginners out there get comfortable with Arc Raiders, and as always, if you want more content like this in your feeds, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, and consider subscribing. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.
But someone needs to dare to say what I think is uncomfortable. That's my job. That's how I look at myself. I'm the guy that needs to point out the things that are uncomfortable. I can maybe guide people towards a direction, but ultimately they're the ones that are going to have to figure it out, right? If you look at the total amount of time or even money that has been spent on Arc Raiders, a game that would have been in development at a larger scale publisher for that amount of time would have cost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. You know, we're not even near that.
Hello and welcome to the Game Business Show with me, Christopher Tring. Back in 2018, a handful of creators and leaders from Electronic Arts, many
But someone
I know what the word ARC in Arc Raiders stands for, and in this video, I'll tell you. About a week ago, I was kindly invited by Embark Studios to join a bunch of fellow content creators and press to play the full version of Arc Raiders early, including the amazing Blue Gate map with its hilly landscape, mix of old buildings and massive underground complexes, and many hints at the game's underlying lore, as well as curious details like these markings on the floor. Spoiler, these lead you to some loot. In this video, which is sponsored by Embark Studios, I want to take those of you who are interested in Arc Raiders lore and Easter eggs through the new lore info that was provided from the game, what that means for the Arc Raiders historical timeline, and also things that you should start looking for in the game aside from other raiders, Arc machines, and loot, as well as providing a brief intro to the game for those who are completely new to it. Then later, I'm going to give you a must-watch, super sneaky tip that you should absolutely use when you complete the game's introductory tutorial, which will allow you to end up with more loot right from the get-go. Let's dive in. It's a little hard for me to believe that Arc Raiders is releasing tomorrow, October 30, after having followed the game's development on this channel since 2019. For those of you on PC via Steam and the Epic Games Store, PlayStation and Xbox, we'll finally all be able to jump into the full version of the game and progress our raider without any restrictions on time or game content like we saw during the recent Server Slam. If this is your first time looking at the game, Arc Raiders is a PvPvE multiplayer extraction adventure set in a lethal future Earth where little remains of the world we know today. It's a world scarred by environmental collapse, AI machines, and the remnants of the majority of humanity fleeing into space. These story elements hold even more meaning because we could easily project them forward for the future of our own world. Anyhow, you can jump into each round solo or with up to 2 friends, and the game will mostly match solos with solos in the same round, and likewise duos and trios together. Hopefully Embark will add duo-only matching into the game if the player base allows it. When you go topside, away from the safety of the underground community of Speranza where your raider lives, you'll have to navigate the constant threat of Ark machines, both ground-based and airborne, and the unpredictable choices that your fellow survivors might make. The game at launch offers us 4 distinct maps to explore: Dam Battlegrounds, Asera Spaceport, Buried City, and Bluegate. Aside from the creator and press preview event, Bluegate hasn't been played yet, so it's fresh for exploration. All the maps come with evolving conditions, which means no 2 runs are the same. You'll see varying weather, enemies, and mechanics that add elements of unpredictability and danger. Your main objectives are to scavenge, survive, and thrive. You gather loot to sell for coin or craft into new gear. You complete quests to earn gear, crafting materials, and XP to level up your raider and unlock new skill points, which can help give you a slight advantage over your enemies. Successful extractions and completed quests mean you'll build up your arsenal to take down Ark enemies or fend off rival raiders. Now that's a brief insight into the game for absolute beginners, but how about those of you like me who are already looking beyond the combat, looting, and extraction? What about those of us who want to uncover the narrative and historical secrets and even maybe Easter eggs that lie within Ark raiders? Let me give you the tools you lorehounds need to get underway. One of the first things you'll want to do is check out the game's codex, which is located under the Raider heading in the main menu. The codex holds 2 main sections, a world book and player stats. Briefly, the player stats section is surprisingly comprehensive. Not only does it record the sorts of things you'd expect, like the number of raiders you have knocked out and a history of rounds showing whether you successfully extracted or not with colours that you can see at a glance, as well as your net gain or loss of gear value, but also an impressive range of combat, exploration, progression, and economy stats. Want to know the total number of leapers you've destroyed? It's there. Your total time topside? It's there. The number of times you've crafted a bandage? It's all there. GG Embark. As far as lore goes though, the world book is where the juicy details are.
Huawei Watch GT6 Series. Fordere dich mit virtuellem Powermeter und FDP jeden Tag aufs Neue heraus. Erlebe höchste Präzision bei jedem Herzschlag und auf jeder Strecke. Und verlasse dich auf bis zu 21 Tage Akkulaufzeit. Huawei Watch GT6 Series.
Als die Baubranche in Schwierigkeiten gerät, fanden wir ein überraschendes neues Produkt. Amazon Ads hat uns geholfen, in 7 verschiedenen Ländern zu expandieren und zu werben. Wir können jetzt über 500 Produkte pro Tag produzieren. Jetzt haben wir ein neues Produkt für Jugendliche und Erwachsene.
Unsere Amazon Ads-Kampagne ist so wichtig, weil wir in unbekannten Märkten starten.
The World Book holds records of the Raiders' world's history and things you've observed there, along with a record of quests you've completed. The main World Book section is divided up into History, People, Toledo, Ark, and Topside sections. Under the History section, when you first enter the game, you're immediately provided with info about a number of events: the collapse, sunrise, the first wave, and the second wave. And in a few hours that I was able to play the game, a section was added on the Exodus period. And some of the individual sections also had additional info added to them as well. So you should return to them frequently as you play, and be aware that some of the info I'm about to go through won't appear when you first jump into the game. So here's your spoiler warning. The collapse is described as the era of vast floods, terrible earthquakes, and cataclysmic destruction, with further detail provided. A tale told mostly through flooded wastes and overgrown ruins, the collapse is said to have happened many generations ago, when devastating floods, scorching fires, and earthquakes conspired to rid Earth of her inhabitants. Only scattered societies are said to have remained, though after generations of darkness and decay, their tales have merged with legends and lies. And then an example of how these sections in the World Book get individually updated. Once you've visited Buried City, this is added. While most evidence of life before the collapse was lost in the devastation, small pockets of preservation still offer a glimpse into the world before. Here in the Rust Belt, shifting sand dunes long covered the port city of Murano, creating a natural time capsule that's been known to astonish and confuse raiders in equal measure. So we're given our first hints here that lore details are waiting for us to uncover, with Buried City being described as a natural time capsule. We also learn that Buried City's actual name is Murano, which is almost certainly named after Murano di Napoli, a municipality in Naples, Italy. The Exodus info, which was added after playing the Asera spaceport map, is divided into the Exodus and launch towers. The Exodus is described as, "It is said that when the world collapsed, a handful of valorous survivors managed to escape the destruction into outer space, boarding marvels of technology long lost to the devastation. Not much is known about how they managed to achieve such feats, and what little technology survived is highly prized within Toledo." Toledo is the region where the Raiders' underground base of Speranza is located, so it sounds like we have something to uncover here about where the space tech came from for the Exodus. The launch towers section reads, "Visible from miles away, the launch towers are a colossal monument to the fabled Exodus. They mark the end of what must have been an era of unimaginable technological progress, an era nearly impossible to image for those who gaze upon the towers today." I'm assuming that image is a typo here and it should actually say imagine. Nonetheless, pretty intriguing that the Exodus was able to take place after the collapse, given the disaster that occurred. There's definitely more than meets the eye to that story, it seems. The Exodus was followed by the Sunrise period, which is new to us and is described as the short-lived era of revival and rediscovery. Alive in the memories of the few very old still around, the era of the Sunrise feels beyond belief to those born underground. Following generations of darkness after the collapse, the era of Sunrise was marked by signs of restoration of the planet's ecology, as well as the rediscovery of old technology and even some degree of organized society. So this was a period after the Exodus and before the Ark machines arrived, when the remaining humans on Earth had a crack at getting society back on track, a glimmer of hope before it all turned to custard. Then we move on to the custard, the first wave, described as the first time Ark rained down from the skies. Even after all these years, the harrowing tales of the first wave are burnt into the memories of those who lived to tell the tale. Just as the world seemed to recover from a devastating ecological collapse, lethal machines started falling from the skies. Any semblance of progress and stability was wiped. Though ruthless, machines during the first wave were comparatively rudimentary, and the first raiders soon found ways to target their weaknesses. They built an extensive network of outpost and defensive structures to support them in their resistance, many of which can be seen around topside to this day. So here's confirmation of where the likes of the 4 Mikai outposts that I talked about in a recent video came from. Then the custard gets thicker with the second wave, the ongoing era of relentless strife and underground community. Raiders sometimes use the term second wave to refer to the current wave of Ark incursion, in which a new generation of improved Ark machines started descending onto Earth. These are significantly improved compared to the rudimentary machines of the first wave, both in their tactics and their physical designs. So from this, I think we can say it's almost a certainty that the Ark machines are purely human-made, because I think if they were the war machines of some alien race, it seems less likely that those aliens would be turning up to Earth with a 1.0 version of the Ark machines. It would make more sense if some of the humans who went into space during the Exodus developed Ark after they got up there and were continuing to improve them. And this would fit with human writing appearing on parts from the Ark machines as seen during previous playtests. As far as the Ark Raiders historical timeline goes, this is what I think it now looks like based on info I presented in a previous video I made about Ark Raiders lore and the new info we now have. Not too many changes, other than adding in the Sunrise era. The World Book section on people introduces us to Celeste, the de facto leader of Speranza, and the 4 other traders we've gotten to know previously, Shani, Tian Wen, Lance, and Apollo. It's likely these sections will expand a lot over time as they hold the traders' thoughts about one another, Celeste's bio, for instance, has a comment from Lance saying, "Here's a little secret for you. She collects mugs. I've catalogued 23 of them so far, and her preferred subset are silly print ones. I keep a stash in the clinic to be dispensed for when she has a particularly bad day. I wonder if we might find mugs as a rare loot item in-game, which we can pass on to Lance or even Celeste directly." Her description says Celeste was part of the small group that first moved into what was to become Speranza. Steady and reliable, people increasingly turned towards her for guidance and mediation, turning her into a pillar of the fast-growing community. Shani's section has a comment from Apollo. "People think Celeste is running the place, and they're not entirely wrong, but what they don't realise is that without Shani, we'd all be toast. No one knows more about Speranza or Ark than she does. Vigilant, cautious, and dutiful, Shani keeps a near-constant watch on the screen in her room. Officially, she's tasked with monitoring any topside threats, as well as operations of the tubes and all raider hatches. In reality, there is little in Speranza that escapes her watchful gaze." Celeste comments on Tian Wen. "You know, I don't really remember when she showed up. One day she was just here, holed up behind a dead bolted door, setting up shop. A technical mastermind with a cutthroat personality, Tian Wen conducts most of her business from behind a bulletproof door, hidden away in a dark alley off the piazza. Her mastery in crafting high-quality firearms has earned her fame in Speranza and beyond. Rumour has it she doesn't think too highly of raiders, yet her trade makes dealing with them an unavoidable reality." Tian Wen comments on Lance with mixed regard. "I've come across similar models before, though even that's a rarity, but none of them spoke or carried themselves quite like Lance. I'm not sure what wires got crossed in that metal head of his, but I'd love to find out. Also, he'd fetch a fortune on the black market, but you didn't hear that from me." So this is pretty insightful. We learn that there are other androids like Lance, and also that he may have been modified at some point, and also that there's a black market somewhere in Toledo. His description continues. "An enigma to Speranzan society, and to some extent himself, given that he can't remember his origins, the android Lance runs his famed medical clinic just off the piazza. It's said that the only thing he can't cure is the common cold, though that's never said within earshot. When it comes to medical matters, Lance is a consummate professional, equally focused while wrapping bandages as he is while picking out bullets with tweezers. When it comes to settling on a name for his clinic, however, his composure tends to fall apart very quickly. I'll speculate here. With the modification aspects to Lance that Tian Wen mentioned, and the medical knowledge he has, I wonder if there might be some underlying Dr. Frankenstein-like story here, where he was once worked on and gained knowledge from some super smart medical professional. More to be uncovered for sure. Lastly, for the traders, Shani comments about Apollo. Unlike many here, this is Apollo's first settlement. He claims to have lived in several, although he's a bit vague on the details. That said, his energy for improvements and his constant cheer do have their uses. So Apollo might be able to provide us with some lore details of the world beyond Speranza. Apollo runs a store by Speranza's piazza, selling primarily makeshift grenades and gadgets. Most of his wares are of his own design, and though they may seem rudimentary to the untrained eye, they are thoroughly field-tested by the most daring raiders. And there's a section for groups and organizations, initially covering raiders, eclectically describing us as fighters, ruffians, providers, and fashionistas. And with Ark's lethal machines ruling the surface, only a handful of survivors dare venture topside. With a combination of unwavering boldness and quick thinking, they are the only source of rare goods for most inhabitants of Toledo. So there's the story of your purpose as a raider right there.
Was ist eigentlich in rotem Matcha drin?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3.
Head and Shoulders? Ich wusste gar nicht, dass du Schuppen hast.
Habe ich auch nicht.
Head & Shoulders entfernt Schuppen und Fett und verhindert bei regelmäßiger Anwendung, dass sie wiederkommen. Für die tägliche Haarwäsche, dermatologisch getestet.
Under the World Book's Toledo section, we learn about the infrastructure in society. Tubes and security fall under infrastructure. The network of tunnels spanning the Rust Belt and beyond is known as the tubes. Raiders use these tunnels to reach the surface by boarding transport pods launched from the stations the locals call slingshots. Each neighborhood in Toledo has its own slingshot station, managed by local security and operations teams. Several junctions lie along the tubes before they reach the surface access points. And Speranza's security detail keeps a long-term eye on risks and around the community. They plan for the unknown, put mitigation measures in place, and deal with immediate threats and hazards. They also make sure that all entrances and exits are secure. Under the Society heading, we have Speranza and Toledo. Colourful and lively, Speranza is the oldest neighbourhood of the underground city of Toledo. It was originally established as an independent settlement at the start of the second wave, when ARC's return forced settlers underground. Built into subterranean infrastructure and buildings swallowed by sinkholes, it offers a mostly safe refuge from topside's many dangers. Over the years, as more survivors arrive from the Rust Belt and beyond, the original settlement expanded into the buried remnants of an ancient city, forming the secluded patchwork neighborhoods of Toledo. So we learned quite a lot there about how Speranza and Toledo came to exist, and the Toledo section expands on this. Nestled deep below the Rust Belt, the underground city of Toledo is made up of a patchwork collection of secluded neighborhoods, known locally as contradas. Though some infrastructure is shared, most of Toledo's contradas are separated by distance and rubble, forming isolated communities looking out for their own. So perhaps hints for us about rivalries between the contradas there. Then the World Book has a section on ARC, and this will rapidly expand as you ping ARC that you haven't pinged in the game before. I won't go through all of the ARC entries, but just know that they give you detailed descriptions of the machines, and importantly, often their weaknesses. And the section will expand to provide info on things like ARC Couriers and the ARC Surveyor, formerly known as the Rollbot. The Surveyor is described as a rich source of high-value ARC tech and is believed to fill up databanks with all kinds of measurements and analyses. As I promised right at the start of this video, under the Operations section, we finally learn what the name of ARC means. For as long as machines have fallen from the sky, those roaming topside have referred to them by one name, ARC, named for the arced shapes displayed on radar screens when they come in from orbit. ARC first came to Earth at the beginning of the first wave, marking a sudden and devastating end to the hopeful era of sunrise. So there you go. We know that ARC means the arc-shaped curves on the radar screen that we see in the game's logo. There's some other important info that we learned during an initial presentation the Embark Studios team gave us before the preview event kicked off, and that's about the new Blue Gate map. By the way, because the mountains in the background of the Blue Gate map look like the Italian Dolomites, I previously wondered if the map might be located outside the Rust Belt, but it isn't. It's located here. So I was wrong, but I'd also say that the map here doesn't really do a great job of accurately representing the steep terrain we see around Blue Gate. Anyhow, the Embark team described Blue Gate as a previously defiant outpost of communication, and with this massive antenna at the top end of the map, which you can climb partway up, you can see how the map's infrastructure fulfilled that role. Also, I spotted this series of antennas that continues on up the mountain, so I wondered what's at the other end, and if my previous suggestion that the mysterious Stella Montis map might be located in the mountaintops near Blue Gate is correct. Amongst the images we were provided as part of the preview event press kit is this image of Blue Gate under what appears to be a snow variant, which looks pretty damn cool. I wonder if this might be something we see introduced as content around Christmas time. Within the Blue Gate map, keep an eye out for these spray-painted marks on the floor, which actually give you directions to little stashes of loot hidden in various corners of the massive underground complex that the map includes. This one tells you to go through the little tunnel here, and then there's loot immediately hidden on the right. Following on from that suggestion to keep your eyes open for little details, here's a couple of things to wrap up the video. During a recent exclusive interview I had with ARC Raiders design director Virgil Watkins, which at this time, if it's not already published, will probably be out for you later today, I asked him this question about lore in the game.
And one of the things I'm super excited about is the lore within the game, and seeing a codex added, so sort of added to that, and tells me that we probably can expect a deep and slowly sort of unfolding story from the Rust Belt.
Without giving away any particular secrets, is there any element of the game's lore that you're excited for us to dive into and uncover and sort of theorize about?
I'm kind of excited for players to be able to poke around the levels and see the little tidbits that are kind of around that they can put together and sort of extrapolate maybe what events occurred there. Because a lot of our levels obviously aren't lived in. They're kind of a snapshot in time of what that place was like when it was last occupied. So that alone can tell a little bit of a story. And then certainly as players move kind of through the map progression, you can put more of that together. So for me, I've always been a huge fan of like environmental storytelling and kind of more subtly delivering the premise to the player. So for me, that's I'm keen to see what people will pick out. And I know you've even put videos together in the past where you kind of extrapolate from, oh, that's placed there. And it's, well, but what was it for? And what's it doing? So I always find that super compelling to see how people attach to that. And then we've tried to build up little bits around it. So like description on certain items or parts of quest lines and things kind of all start stitching it together. So
right.
I'll be keen to see how
the forensic scientists of the Rust Belt.
Precisely, yeah. So I think that's very interesting.
I think the game offers a sort of sandbox element that allows us to have that time for stopping and looking at things like that too.
Yep.
So, like I said, as Virgil finished his answer there, I think if you're interested in Arc Raiders lore, then a method to get into this is to act as if you're a detective or forensic scientist looking for little pieces of evidence around the Arc Raiders maps that can start to build up a picture of the game's story. Let me give you a quick example of that, which you might have seen, but just not thought much about.
Dreams do come true. I am showering on Netflix.
Ein CRM-System sollte Ihr Budget nicht belasten. Es sollte Ihre Teams unterstützen. Ein CRM-System sollte keine versteckten Kosten verursachen. Es sollte Ihnen Geld sparen. Ein CRM-System sollte keine unzähligen Add-ons benötigen. Es sollte mit allen Ihren Tools funktionieren. Ein CRM-System sollte Sie nicht im Dunkeln tappen lassen. Es sollte Ihnen tagesaktuelle Erkenntnisse liefern. Jetzt kostenlos loslegen.
On the Dam Battlegrounds map, which we played relentlessly during the recent Server Slam, as you move along the front side of the Alcantara Dam, you might have noticed at the base of the dam were a bunch of drone bodies and also loads of wheels from cars. As I ran along here, I thought, why are all these drones and wheels here? Then it dawned on me that probably after the first wave, raiders would have again had some time on their hands to roam the surface, and as a form of light entertainment, they probably slid the drone bodies and rolled the wheels down the front of the dam just for a laugh. I'm sure you can imagine a few raiders sitting at the top of the dam, drinking cold beers and betting one another who can roll a wheel the furthest. It's potentially an interesting little record of their past life, right? And this is how I think us lorehounds should approach the game. Observe every little detail on the maps and think about what those details mean for what happened in the Rust Belt in the past, because we can use those observations to piece together the Arc Raiders story, kind of like a crime scene. Lastly, I want to leave you with a sneaky tip for the tutorial that will allow you to kick off the game with a bit more loot. And another warning, this tip contains a spoiler about the tutorial. During the tutorial, you guide your raider through an environment towards an extraction lift, learning about how to interact and loot as you go. When you get to this door, you have to breach it. And the moment you do, you'll get downed by a couple of other raiders who will take all your stuff, leaving you with nothing when you wake up. But instead, if you drop your loot on the floor just before you breach the door, it'll still be there when you wake up. And you can pick it up again and carry on with it through to the extraction, and you get to keep it all when you make it into Speranza. I did this as a test during the preview event, although I stupidly forgot to drop my Berletta pistol, so I lost that. But I got to keep a bunch of other items. Anyhow, I hope you find that tip helpful, even if it is a bit sneaky. Thanks for watching this video to the end. A big thank you to the members of my channel for their ongoing support, especially my Black 10 members TJ and Thoronike17, and of course to Embark Studios, not only for sponsoring this video, but also for having me as a member of their creator program. Both are greatly appreciated. Do the usual YouTube business if you want to see more videos from me from now on. Come and join our Utopia Discord if you want to hang out with us, or if you want to find others to squad up with. There's a link in the description. Give a like or comment as you see fit, and enjoy the rest of your day. Kia kaha. Stay strong.
Everybody knows the world ain't right. Down on your knees, get up and fight.
With Framer, the things you design become real. Framer feels like a design tool, but it ships fast.
So a few days ago, I got invited to an Arc Raiders playtest alongside other creators and reporters, and in this playtest, we got to try out a brand new map. The map is called Blue Gate, and it takes place on a mountainside, a very green mountainside. And although there are a lot of trees, the map for the most part is extremely open, so if you like sniping, this is the map for you. The Arc, or the droids, the clankers, whatever you call them, they seem to be quite a bit more difficult on this map versus the other maps that we've played so far, but lucky for us, they did give us access to a brand new grenade launcher designed specifically to take down the Arc, so that made things quite a bit simpler. We only got to play a few raids, and like I said, we were playing against other streamers, so things got pretty sweaty very, very fast. Today, we'll be joined by my brother Bronik and my good friend Aculite as we learn the ins and outs of the new map. Drop a like for the algorithm, and make sure you subscribe if you're new, because we're going to be posting a lot more Arc Raiders content on the channel. Let me know what you guys think about the brand new map in the comments below, and a massive thank you to Embark Studios for allowing me to play this early. I hope you all enjoy the video. Hey, this is like the Battlefield 1 map. That one in Italy.
Dude, this one looks sick. I don't even want to fight. I don't even want to play the game. I just want to look. It's quiet. Too quiet.
Too quiet.
Oh, my bad.
Oh,
Careful,
look what
careful.
you've done. All right, let's shoot it.
Well.
Careful, sniper.
Flare.
Sniper,
We got a
sniper,
flare. You got a flare? You see one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not too far, but decently far away. It's about 300 clicks out.
There we go.
Thank you. Holy
Wait, are clicks
I think they made those things.
meters?
Kilometers.
Kilometers.
Okay, it's 0.3 clicks away.
That's all far ways away, man. Yeah, definitely another one.
Okay.
Oh, guy to our left. Far left, far left. I'm gonna pretend like I didn't see him.
Okay. Me too.
Oh, should we shoot him? He's crossing, he's crossing.
Okay, he's
crossing.
Yep.
I only see one.
Hit him.
Bracket.
He's doing the like dip dodge.
Okay, he's down, he's down.
Okay, I wonder if he's the first one crossing or if that's...
We can talk to him too. We got a defib.
Yeah, we got a defib.
Yeah. Careful though, just in case there are more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'll sit up here just in case there's another two.
Okay. I'm gonna hold a smoke grenade in my hand.
Wait, did he give up? Oh, he just gave up, dude.
Oh, he
He's
did?
dead,
Oh.
Maybe it's a reporter.
Oh, man.
IGN's gonna give it a bad review because
That's the guy who gave that one that one review.
Man, I'm out of stamina so quick.
I know, it's rough. What is he bringing in?
Oh god, it is him?
God.
It's the guy from the IGN review?
It's the guy, dude.
Oh,
it's
shoot.
The guy.
You think you found out how scrappy
really?
works?
It's definitely the guy. Look at that loot. I didn't even take anything.
Oh. Okay, I'm taking one shield charger. That was all.
That's all he has.
That's...
Oh, dude, look, you can see yourself here.
That's basically a free loadout.
It might be, actually. Wait, it wasn't the, yeah, it actually was a free
yeah,
loadout.
binoculars, yeah.
But he also had the box, the free loadout box.
kit.
Yeah. Bro brought a free loadout to this, man. I don't know.
Maybe they were trying to like run around and make some friends. Because like he didn't try to shoot back or anything. He was just dipping and diving.
Yeah.
Man, this map looks cool.
Where else were the flares that you'd seen?
What did I just see? That door down there is open. It's over there.